Hi everyone. I'm Andrea Fatona, and I have worked as a curator for the past really long time. I started in the early 90s. And I came to curatorial practice out of necessity. While living in Vancouver, primarily because there were no images of black folks or works by black artists that were being presented in galleries. And I came to my practice at a time when First Nations artists and artists of color were contesting who belongs to the nation and the types of works being shown. So it was a really important time, like Pam said, it was a time when we were all looking to Britain and the United States for their work and the type of work they were doing in terms of a relationship between artists and the academy. So I started, the first piece of work I did was Hogan's Alley that Wade talked about. And Hogan's Alley is a 30-minute documentary that documents the lives of 3 black women in the community of Hogan's Alley. And that work was co-directed with a white artist, senior artist from Vancouver named Cornelia Weingarten. Much of my work is really actually concerned as well with collaboration and inserting blackness within the frame of art presentation. So my work's also concerned with what I think is trying to think through a black geography. So Hogan's Alley marks that, as well as this work by Melinda Molyneux called Cadborough Bay, Indexed on Incomplete History. And that work looked at placing the black subject within the landscape of BC, thinking through, trying to make visible the histories and negotiations of black folks in that space at the turn of the century. My work's also concerned with community arts projects. So in 2001, I animated a community arts project that brought together high school students, the Artist Run Center, and community organizations in Peterborough to talk about environmental racism. So we brought in Richard Fung and a number of media artists to work with students to produce media works that take up issues around environmental racism, as well as work with Caroline Langeau, who is the Dean of Liberal Studies and Interdisciplinary something here, to work with students to recycle ore drums and paint images that take up this notion of environmental racism on them. The work circulated to all the high schools in the Peterborough School District, as well as was part of the Community Arts Biennial in Toronto at A Space Gallery. By 2004, I became really concerned with inserting Canada into discussions around black diaspora. I had the opportunity to go to Miami on a fellowship called Interrogating the African Diaspora. And I was really quite struck by the fact that Canada was absent from any imaginings of what diaspora was about, and as well as how we perform diaspora, the kinds of contacts we have with each other across space, and also I guess across time. So as part of my concern with inserting black diaspora, having conversations across the nation space of Canada, and to place us in conversation with other diasporic people, I organized an exhibition called Attack of the Sandwich Man. And Attack of the Sandwich Man was a collaborative exhibition that included Christopher Cozier from Trinidad and Richard Thorne from Toronto. The work is really looking at post-colonial Trinidad, but in a way, I think also gestured to a discussion about the place of Caribbean-descended folks in Toronto. In 2007, as part of continuing this discussion around placing Canada within the frame of black diaspora, I organized a touring exhibition with Deanna Bowen called Reading the Image, Poetics of the Black Diaspora. The exhibition included Deanna, Chris Cozier, Michael Fernandez, and Maud Salter. Maud Salter from Britain, Michael Fernandez from Nova Scotia, Chris from Trinidad, and Deanna from Toronto. Within this catalog here are essays by Ronaldo Walcott and Peter Hudson. In 2008, I started a job as the Contemporary Arts Curator at the Ottawa Art Gallery in Ottawa. And I realized at that time that I was really interested in looking at work, or presenting work that was really work that I thought was quite beautiful. Up until now, my focus was really about inserting politics, doing something that seemed like, was really out of necessity to insert a certain type of work within the frame of the gallery. This work for Fibered Optics was really looking at craft, the notion of fiber as a three-dimensional object, and trying to think through the ways in which artists who work at the intersection of craft and fine art use this object. So that exhibition included Francis Dorsey from Nova Scotia, Jerome Have, who at the time was living in Montreal, and Kian from Toronto, and Michel Provost from the Gatineau. And I'll just end with this exhibition called Landmarks, which is a touring exhibition, originated in Chatham last summer, opens in Windsor in about a month, and then tours to Peterborough after that. The exhibition is co-curated with Catherine Dennis, who is a graduate of OCAD's curatorial program, and it includes artists Marianne Barkhouse, Wendy Coburn, Brendan Fernandez, Jerome Have, and Susan Goldsmith, all Canadian artists. This work's looking at the ways in which we categorize how we live in the world, and we create categories, and the ways in which the land we live on actually circumscribes or marks the ways in which our identities are formed within these spaces. So that's my work.